happy to be here. It's a really good lineup, and I'm super happy that I'm first, because I would hate to follow these bastards. There's a really, really good folks. I do need a new profile, don't I? Picture. It looks like a little kid who's... Sorry. Hello, hello, hello? Let's see. Looks like it's on. Hello? No? Should I just shout? There you go. Aha. Better? Not better.
Now it should be better.
Now better? Ah, oof. Yeah, Jesus. Now I got to watch what I say. Okay. That's what I want to talk about, breaking the invisible conventions of marketing. It's very much what Marta was talking about, this elephant and rider, system one, system two idea, that a lot of what we're guided by is this invisible force that is really the force of convention. That's me at Doug Kessler. If you guys are the tweeting types, you don't look like tweeting types, but you never know. And now I've got to figure out which is the forward button. That did it. So I've been writing for something like 30 years, and obviously that's as a professional copywriter. Before then, writing in school, so writing my whole life. But it was only 2 weeks ago I learned a fundamental law of English language, pretty much an unbreakable rule that I had no idea existed, and yet had been following precisely for my entire career. And when I found this out, I was shocked. I was embarrassed, actually, that I didn't know there was such a rule. You guys might know it. I mean, if you learn English as a second language, you're probably taught this. So I'll ask you that. But I didn't know it, and I ran around to other people. Nobody knew it, but we all followed it. And it involves sentences like this one: two lovely little old rectangular green French silver whittling knives. It's not a great sentence, but it is an okay, I mean, it works. It sounds fine. And then you do something else. Whoops, backwards. Two French old whittling metal little rectangular green lovely knives is super awkward. Kind of an insane sentence, doesn't work at all, sounds completely wrong. And it's all because of this rule. There's an adjective order rule. And literally, I had no idea it existed and have never broken it probably in my life. And it's quite complex. There are 9 types of adjective: number, opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose. And you don't break that order. If you do, it sounds funny. It sounds weird. Do you guys, anyone who's learned English as a second language, were you ever taught this? So, okay, so it's not as unusual that nobody knows it, but I think what happens is if a non-native speaker gets the order a little bit wrong, and that'll be one of the things that betrays someone as a because a native English speaker would never get it wrong. It's a hard and fast rule. I mean, it's not unbreakable, like article before noun, the tree will always be. You can't say tree, the. But you can mix these a little and you'll get effects out of it. But basically, no one breaks it. So I went looking for examples. You know, surely somewhere there are examples when the order's not this way. I couldn't find any. I mean, I looked in Little Red Riding Hood, which is the right way. But there's a character in Little Red Riding Hood, the big bad wolf, and there's the only objection, the only breaking of the rule I've ever seen. It should be the bad big wolf, which already sounds a little funny, and you think, why? And so here, 2 weeks ago, after 30 years of writing, I've now stumbled on a second rule. It turns out there is another invisible rule that trumped and overrode this rule. And it's a weird little one called ablaut reduplication. So reduplication is when you take a word like zigzag. Whenever you double a word, that's reduplication. And it's got some very, very specific rules about it. Ablaut reduplication is when you change the vowel, zig to zag. The guy who discovered it, by the way, is Jacob Grimm from Grimm's Fairy Tales. He was a linguist, so you learned some great shit when you were researching this stuff. But it turns out there's a big rule about that, too. Zigzag, knick-knack, mingle-mangle, crisscross. The rule is the vowel order. It's always I, then A, then O, always. There's never a break to that. So all of these, zigzag, knick-knack, mingle-mangle, tick-tock, all of them follow that reduplication vowel order. Now, who knew? I mean, again, it's something we never break, but we just had no idea about. And that one made the big bad wolf sound a lot better than the bad big wolf, which does sound a little bit weird. So what killed me, though, is that after all these years, being a writer, I discover not just one, but 2 really important, I mean, well, how important this one is, I don't know, but really hard and fast rules that I never knew about. And that's really what the talk is about, the power of invisible conventions. And it turns out we are very rule-bound species. You know, what we do when we get into a new situation is figure out the rules, We're rarely handed a manual that's written, but we just figure it out. That's how things are done, and we follow them. And what the talk is about is saying that marketing and content marketing are bound by these. We've all inherited them. We walk into the job and we start just assuming them, and that actually a lot of them make our content worse, not better, and that if we could expose these rules and play with them, we'd be better off. So we need conventions. Our brains need them, obviously. They're the WD-40. Do you have WD-40 in Norway? It's the lubricant of human interaction, is that we get etiquette and manners, and if you break convention on web user experience kind of thing, no one will know how to use the website. So, there's a really important use for conventions, but we don't have to be slaves to them. We do not have to let them rule everything we do. So as marketers, I think it's our job is to expose the hidden conventions in our markets so that we can play with them and start having fun and seeing what happens when we bend or break them. Why? Because of this, the marketing defense barrier. So we all are used to putting up this barrier when we hear marketing coming at us. So marketing that looks and smells and tastes and feels like marketing, we just kind of filter because we know that it's not going to be giving us the whole story or something like that. So everyone's got this thing in us that's triggered by marketing. And it's the conventions of marketing that shout, marketing's coming, before it comes, so that people can raise these barriers. And we feel like if you can break the conventions a little bit, what happens is those barriers kind of come down. People are like, what is this? And start to engage with you a bit more. Where do you find the conventions? They're kind of this nested set. So I'm kind of a little bit neurotic, and so I think of the whole world as like a dark place of nested complexity, and this is no exception. So the biggest one is your own company's conventions, right? How do we do things around here? And that's something that, it's very, very hard and fast. It's really hard to break. Outside of that one, your industries. So whatever market you're marketing in, if it's banking, it's whatever, they have their own rules. Like we do things like that in banking. Your countries, so Norway's conventions may be a little bit different than America's, UK's. Your discipline, marketing in general, has a ton of conventions. That's what I'll be talking most about. And then, of course, the species has a million of them, too. So really, we're living in a world full of rules within rules within rules. I can't really talk about your company's ones. You're going to have to examine those yourself, or even which market you're in. But we can talk more about the discipline of marketing and the conventions that guide that. So 5 big broad types. There are content conventions. So this is just what topics and themes and issues can you write about in your world? What's okay to write about? Format. How do we package up those stories and themes and issues? Is it ebooks? Is it slideshares? Is it white papers? Even down to like how many words per page is actually quite a strong convention that if you listed all the content in your market, you'd see that there's very little variation. Style conventions. That's tone of voice and even design and things like that. Again, very, very convention bound. Strategy. How does content work in your marketing mix? How do you measure it? Conventional ways. And promotion. How do you get the right people to discover your content? These are bound by kind of the way things are done. And it's when people don't do them this way that we start to take notice. So marketing conventions are deep and strong and invisible. Of all the disciplines out there, you'd think ours would be one of the more free, right? Like banking's going to have a ton of, or insurance will have laws and rules, and marketing should be, we're all the creative snowflakes, right? But actually, it's hugely convention bound. The biggest one, the most depressing one of all, is marketing lies. We've learned this. Marketing is just, we know from a very, very young age that marketing often doesn't tell the truth, sometimes in just little distorting ways, sometimes in quite big and venal ways. Like, one of my favorites, using doctors to sell you things that are patently unhealthy for you, bad for you. So, classic example, Dr. Batty's asthma cigarettes, 1890. This is to help you, the temporary relief of symptoms. My favorite line in the whole thing is the bottom line, not recommended for children under 6. So Mr. Dr. Responsible Batty, if you're 7 years old, it's like, here, kid, I'll light it for you. So using a doctor to sell you something very unhealthy became a huge part of the tobacco industry. 1930, this is a health cigar, and this is Dr. Roerig, and he's listing nicotines, glycerides, albuminoids, and carbon. So even in 1930, they knew what was killing you in these cigarettes, and they were using a doctor to say these are good things, right? This ad was made in 1930. In 1938, the good doctor died of lung cancer. but the industry used lots and lots of doctors all the time. Every brand had doctors coming out saying what a great brand this was. I mean, sometimes it was celebrities saying scientific evidence proves. And celebrities, of course, is another one of these conventions that lasts to this day. I must say, I like my species a lot less when I think about how easy it is to sell a watch. You stick it on Pierce Brosnan and people buy the fucking watch. I still don't get how that works, but it obviously does work. Celebrities are big. And it says, the celebrity message is, use this product, you'll be more like me. And of course, staying within cigarettes, all of the stars came out to say what a wonderful thing is, use this product, you'll be more like me. And cigarettes, of course, is the one example where it was true. If you do use that product, you will be more like them in one very important way. She died of lung cancer, he died of heart disease, congenital heart failure, heart attack, lung and brain cancer, lost a lung. So you use these products, you will be like these celebrities, not in the way intended. So marketing lies, and this is like the venal end of the spectrum. But there's actually, it's kind of a long spectrum, and on this end is just distortion and half-truths and not telling the whole truth, right? And that's just something we all understand. But it's also why everyone hates marketing. This is why marketing gets a bad reputation. And then back in, I think 2010, I'm sorry, this is why people bring up those barriers again. In 2010, something came along and shattered the core conventions of marketing. And the color is the hint here. The thing that came along was Joe Polizzi from the mountains of Cleveland, and he had content marketing on his tablets. This is a new way of doing things. That's my Photoshop skills, by the way. You can't even tell the scene, can you? And all of a sudden, there were some new conventions to marketing. It was quite a fundamental thing. It was a big, big shift. If you look at the marketing conventions, all about the brand, free to lie, one-sided, sales message-led. The brand, it presumed, had all the power in the relationship, and it would interrupt a valuable interaction like I Love Lucy or some TV show to give you this other interaction, right? That's kind of, those are fundamental conventions of marketing. And content marketing comes along and actually breaks them all. It's like, you're now free to tell the truth. You're rewarded for telling the truth. Content that is frank and honest is better content. It's balanced, utility-led instead of sales message-led. The buyer has the power, we recognize now. And we're there to deliver value, not just to interrupt it and stick our message in there, right? Those are pretty big things. And for a while, content marketing, you know, it was such a powerful force because those marketing defense barriers went down. It's like, this doesn't look like marketing. Someone made me an ebook to help me do my job and gave it to me for free. It's 50 pages, it's full of good advice. That's great. That doesn't look and smell like marketing. So, you know, all content marketing was big and it was working. And, you know, now what's happening now in you know, the mainstreaming of content marketing is those barriers are coming back. The conventions are starting to form around what is content marketing. What is good content marketing? How do we do it? The same conventions of content and format and style and strategy and promotion are bedding down. And it's making our content worse, not better. So really what I'm asking really to do is to not trigger these defense barriers and to do new things. Brands that are doing it are getting a lot of attention. Qualcomm just did this really cool, very high production values of film. They're a chip maker for mobile phones. And these are big stars in West and in China. And this guy wakes up on a houseboat in Shanghai and his girlfriend's gone and just her phone is there. So he has to kind of solve the mystery just using the phone. And you know, there are a few little references to the chip's capabilities, but mainly it's just a really good story, really well told, very dark and very powerful, very unconventional, and it's why it stands out. This is B2B marketing. Another one, GE is always breaking the rules, always doing unconventional stuff. They did a 6-part series for the National Geographic Channel called Breakthrough, and it's all about different scientific breakthroughs. It's directed by Ron Howard, fantastic Hollywood director, really, really good programs. This is B2B marketing. And they also did this, The Message, which is a podcast, 8 parts. And it's kind of a pseudo-documentary, almost like War of the Worlds in the 40s, Orson Welles thing. Very dark, very intriguing, and very interesting. And it got it was #1 on iTunes within 8 weeks. It was #1 podcast downloaded with 1.5 downloads. So again, marketing that people want and people grab because it doesn't look like marketing, it doesn't smell like marketing. So what I want to do is run through a few of these conventions and a kind of a random bag of conventions, really. They're not necessarily the ones that I'm preaching that you go ahead and attack, They're just examples of what brands have done by breaking some unwritten rules, right? And then at the end, we'll talk about some really simple, obvious even techniques to try to unleash that for you guys. First one, marketing hides your weaknesses. This is such a truism that it's not written down anywhere because no one needs to. We just assume that's what marketing's about. You put your best foot forward. You don't tell people your weaknesses, right? But we've done a piece called Insane Honesty in Content Marketing, which is all about brands that have broken that rule and have taken, not just admitted their weaknesses, but have actually taken those weaknesses, taken the bad parts of their product and pushed them right out front, and in fact, led their whole marketing with what appear to be their downsides. So this is like upside down marketing. It should not work. And throughout advertising and marketing history, there have been great examples of it working. And I always wonder, why don't people do it more? It's such a clear winner with actually way less risk than you think. And you'll see why in a sec. My favorite example of it is the Hans Brinker Budget Hotel in Amsterdam. Okay, not a very nice hotel. And in 1996, they said, we're going to add more beds, and we're going to raise our prices a little bit. When I say add more beds, I don't mean add more rooms. I mean add more beds. They just crammed beds in there, and it's the most no-nonsense hotel you'll ever see. Now, how are you going to raise your prices on that kind of experience? But they did one really great decision, which they hired Kessler, the really terrific agency in Amsterdam, and they came up with an amazing campaign that is appealing to these kind of backpackers they're looking for who don't trust advertising anyway. And so they came up with a way to just say, look, let's just admit what we are. And my favorite one is this: check in, check out. This is a whole campaign of just two words on each side: check in, check out. And you can just tell who it's appealing to, people who didn't come to Amsterdam to have a nice sleep. If you Google Hans Brinker Budget Hotel and just hit images, you'll see all these incredible pieces of work that are all about showcasing weaknesses, like now even more noise, now even less service, even more dog shit in the main entrance, that kind of thing. More rooms without a window. They just had fun with it. They're just breaking the rules for fun. A recent one that I really like, or ones I had only discovered in putting this together, was this eco-friendly campaign. So that's an eco-elevator, and that's an eco-towel is the guy wiping his face on the curtains, and this is kind of disgusting eco-toilet paper is a sock on the floor. My kid is actually, one of my daughters stayed at one of these and said, A, it's not so bad, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a bit of a buzz. These guys, their yields are full. They are full, and they're opening in new cities. They're doing brilliantly, telling people how shitty they are. Or things like Hans Brinker Budget Hotel, can't get any worse, but we'll do our best. My absolute favorite was, there's a picture, it's a short video of a crappy looking bed, a pillow on it with a terrible grease stain on the pillow, really gross. And a maid comes in a maid outfit, and she comes in, she flips the pillow over, plumps it up, and walks out. Hans Brinker. It's just a terrific campaign of leading with your worst qualities. So Clippy will come along when it's advice time about what you can do about this. And Clippy says, openly share the weaknesses of your products. It can do amazing things, surprise and delight, because marketing doesn't do that. Signals confidence. You believe in enough to say you can share your downsides. Builds trust, alienates less likely buyers. You don't want a romantic couple coming to the Hans Brinker Hotel or a family with kids. You actually need to alienate them. They're not going to like it. Focuses you on battles you can win. So it can be a terrific thing to do, is to openly admit who you're not for. Marcus Sheridan, I turned him into Clippy here. He'll be here later. Brilliant speaker, brilliant marketer. We've got to be willing to address the elephant in the room. He tells everyone to do, there are 5 kinds of blog posts he thinks everybody should do. One of them is the problems of your product. And so in one of his workshops, someone named Vicky from Millie's Beach Huts was in his workshop, went home, did this blog post, 5 reasons not to join Millie's Beach Hut Club. Already it's intriguing. Like, you really want to know, why would somebody be telling me reasons to not use the product? And 3 of them are, you prefer spontaneous family days out. So look, if you want spontaneity, you have to plan ahead and book these things, so you're not going to like us. You have subscription fatigue, you just don't like joining things, or you don't really love Beach Hut Day. So you don't like beach huts, you're not going to like them. These are actually, when you look at them, they're not painful admissions. These are just facts. You aren't going to like them, you aren't going to pick them. Anyone who reads this and is alienated, it's because they aren't their target audience. But what it tells your target audience is, we're going to tell you the truth. And that's a wonderful thing to signal. in your content. So that's my plug for the book. It's the SlideShare Power of Insane Honesty. Come and have a look. I really urge people to try this technique. It's a very, very powerful one. All right, next one. Content marketing is all about the data. Now, I actually believe this. I think it's true, but it's become almost religion. Look at the marketing tech stack now. This is Scott Brinker's Tech Landscape. Thousands of marketing apps all about collecting and activating data. And if you Google something like data-driven marketing, 7 million pages. This is the new religion. And in general, a very good one. But like all rules, you know, it can sometimes kill some very, very good things. And one example, this is SEO Moz. They're now called Moz, doing their Whiteboard Friday videos with Rand Fishkin. This is the first one they ever did 9 years ago. Very rough and ready, him in his T-shirt. And they just wanted to share a piece of advice every week on YouTube or on video. Data said, kill this thing. It's not working. It's, 10 of them in, and they had less than 25% the normal traffic of a blog post, an average blog post, way lower engagement figures. And so really the data said there's no reason to keep doing these things. Something kept them doing it. And he said if SEO Moz hadn't been a small startup that could do whatever it wanted, it would have been very, very tough to justify continuing to produce Whiteboard Friday. So, but there was something in there that said, no, this is good. And what it was for him, as he reports it, is it had low engagement rates, but those who did engage really loved it. They were quite passionate about it. And so there was something telling him, hold off on the data for a little bit. Let's just see. 9 years later, 450 of these. And keep in mind, they went through 153 years of doing this before it hit the average blog post traffic level. Now, 20,000 views is average, highest 200,000. Engagement 30% higher than any other thing they do. Now they're very slick. He's a dandy. He's not in a T-shirt. And the production values are super high. It's still the basic same thing. Look into the camera, tell a story. And it's the engine of their marketing. It is the most powerful thing they do. But they would have killed it. Data said, kill this thing. And it said it for 3 whole years, right? So Clippy says, live and breathe data, but be prepared to follow your heart. Or as Rand puts it, most great projects start with belief and instinct. And I think we just need to keep reminding ourselves that's still where great stuff comes from. We can't get it all out of the numbers. The numbers are indicators. Next one, hide your nerds. This is a big one in marketing. It's almost like marketing is like high school. You know, the popular kids go to the prom and the nerds stay home. You know, we're all about the extroverts and the pretty people and everything else, and that leads to marketing like Kendall Jenner and Pepsi. You know, it's this is how it's supposed to be. She saves the world by giving a cop a Pepsi. This kind of lightweight thing, but actually, in most companies there are these brilliant geeks, and in our work we're a tech B2B marketing agency. All we deal with is geeks, but in every company, there's a handful of just terrifically articulate, smart, passionate people who really get this little tiny niche interest. And you think, now the normal thing is, well, let's write down what they say and make slick marketing and hide the guy. They're like, don't bring him out. But actually, bringing your geeks out can be hugely, hugely powerful. This is what happened when GE did this, their aeronautics division. They have satellite systems that help direct takeoff and landing paths, right? And they're super precise, as you'll see. The precision, every single takeoff is identical, every single landing is identical. And the geeks found a way to show this. If you could show this video. Just a minute or so of it. There's no voiceover, so I can babble on. It's a simple technique, like multiple exposure and time-lapse put together, to go to an airport and look for about an hour and look at the patterns. And what you see is that just the beauty of precision. And that they just stand back. And only a geek would stand back and say, just look at this. We're not going to tell you all about it. We're just going to show you. It's a beautiful piece of content that really came from pure geekery. They luckily made a making of Paths of Flight. And that's probably enough. You can pause that without going for it. Sorry. And that's cool. So whenever you go to a shoot, you've got something in your head. Like these guys had this in their head. They weren't sure they were going to get it. And whenever I go to a shoot, you don't know. You know it's in your head. And then there's a moment when it's coming together and you think, yeah, we got what we came for. And there's a moment in there making of which captures that. This is the geek saying, yeah, we got what we came for. And there's a joy there. A really quick, another geek one, which Andrew Davis shared with me. Andrew Davis, brilliant, brilliant marketing speaker and author. And he discovered, or for me, discovered Jenny Doan, Missouri Star Quilt Company. Geeky little thing to make quilts, minority interest. I guess that's what defines a geek. You're not a mainstream interest, but a minority interest. And her son said, let's just do a video about you and quilting. And she wasn't very good at the beginning. She was like, hello, my name is Jenny Doan, and I'm here to tell you about quilts. And it wasn't very good, but she got more and more comfortable over time, stuck with it. Now 387,000 subscribers, 68% of whom watch it every single week, which is an awesome thing. And for her, this little tiny shop in this little tiny Missouri town took over the town. I mean, it's like it owns the town. It employs everybody. It's probably one of the biggest employers in Missouri, which, well, no, it is saying something. There's some big companies there. And she's now Oprah. I mean, she left that kind of style. She gets more and more and more confident all the time. She's really, really good at this. And, you know, it's geekery. We had one in Informatica, this guy David Lyle. Every time we got input from this guy, we left fired up about the products and everything and the company. And so it's like, look, he ain't an oil painting. He's the first to admit he's a geeky guy. But you put him up there and you press play, and it's just kind of magnetic. It's his passion for it. This is 100,000 views, which for Informatica, tiny little topic, cloud analytics, should have 3,000 or 4,000. Most of their other videos are lucky to get 3,000 or 4,000. This is 100,000, 150 is the next one, 175. And this is because the guy is just a glorious geek who knows his stuff and loves it. So Clippy says, get your geeks into the spotlight. Don't hide them. B2B companies are full of smart, eccentric, gloriously passionate people who are great at things no one else ever thinks about. But too many B2B companies keep those guys in the back room. And I think it's time to trot them all out and make superstars out of them, because that's what they are. Next one. This one kills me. Marketing has to be relentlessly positive. The comment we get back from clients more than any of that makes me despair is we don't do negative. Like if the headline is 10 mistakes in whatever, they'd say, no, make it 10 tips, or, you know, make it all positive. And it drives me crazy. I think somewhere there was a marketing book written and they said never be negative. I want to find the guy who wrote it and just beat him over the head with that book. Because it's wrong. Our robot overlord, Mark Zuckerberg, feels like for many, many years there was only one emotion. It was to like things. And it leads to this relentless positivity, this insane kind of positivity and brightness and false positivity, Pollyanna stuff, which can, taken to an extreme, make the worst marketing on earth. In fact, my favorite example of the worst marketing on earth is something I've watched literally hundreds of times. Not once got to the end of, because it's so cringy. Can we play press on this one? Windows 7. For sport, watch the people who aren't speaking.
You can use house party tools to build your guest list, upload your pictures, which is his face, right? And you can even get a party pack. Though you're in your own home, you'll be able to participate with others in this exciting
I defy you to watch more than a minute. That's all I can say. You know, then someone came along and told Mark Zuckerberg there are actually 6 human emotions. You know, you can do more than just like things. And down here toward the sad and angry and the dark stuff, where marketing runs away from that stuff, there's some great marketing to be had there. That's where some energy and passion is, and there's an intriguing nature to that. These guys, Norton, Symantec, did the most dangerous town on the internet. I think it's Romania somewhere. And they send a documentary maker to meet dark hackers and, you know, figure out how they work. And it's really a magnetic, powerful piece of work. Can we show just a minute or half a minute of this?
On the streets, normal people cannot distinguish them
It's okay, it's
from other, young people that are from the same age.
I was a black actor. Now I am a white or gray. Depends on who hires me for what. I like being, I don't know how to say it, powerful.
So, yeah, powerful. It is powerful stuff. It's the opposite of the Windows 7 party in every way, but boy, I could spend a lot more time with that and learn a lot more from it. In Velocity, we developed, it's kind of a genre called the rant, which is to attack something. And of course, negative, you don't want to be a negative brand. Nobody wants to be a negative brand with a chip on its shoulder. You have to pick your target of your anger very carefully. And what you pick is the obstacles to your target audience, your prospects and customers' success. The obstacles to their success is something that is worth hating and attacking. And that's what rants do. They're often slide shares or ebooks, and they're all about attacking the enemy, which is, whatever it is. This is why everyone hates procurement, or why job references are worthless. Stop buying tech, product information malpractice. Our own rant crap about how content marketing is ruining content marketing was one of the things that drove our success. It's got something like 3 million views now, all because it just kind of unleashed this, fire hose of passion about a topic. So it's important to be able to go there. So Clippy says, explore charged emotions, not just the happy slappy. Or as Alice Roosevelt said, if you don't have anything nice to say about anyone, come sit by me. You're my kind of people. Marketing speaks marketing. This is one of the most distressing and most obvious of them all. There is a way that marketing talks that is not the way humans talk. Not sure why, but it has stuck. In B2B, it's changing, luckily. So in B2B, when a company wanted to sell to another company, you wanted to earn their trust, right? And the way you get trust is say, we're big, we're venerable, we're not going to fail, we're secure. So, it's all about size and authority. So the B2B voice, the conventional one, was stiff and serious and uniform and formal. Then the kind of world of social media comes up, and things change. What makes you trust someone is not just that they're big. In fact, that might be the opposite now. You want someone who's honest and transparent and who's authentic, and that's the new source of trust. So the conventions under that start changing, and how we talk changes. So the new voice, straight and simple and confident, conversational, real and human, personal. This is a new voice that's emerging. It's emerging slowly, in some markets very, very slowly. So a typical piece of copy, and not even a bad one for cloud storage, let's say, is a dynamic public cloud platform that offers high-performance, reliable storage options to fit varying network or workload needs. That's not even a bad sentence. That's just a normal one, right? That's just typical. But Dropbox has the exact same product, and they just say, Dropbox is the simple way to work with anyone, any file, anywhere, work the way you want, just how people talk. And it's refreshing, It's like getting a glass of water in a desert. It's just like, finally, someone's just talking like people. It's a similar example of just that one. So loosen up, find a voice. Really, really, really important for me. Voice is a force multiplier, a budget multiplier. You get it right, and your stuff gets listened to. And a really good way to do this is get this book, Everybody Writes by Ann Handley. She's here in the room somewhere, and terrific, terrific book that'll help you. I really recommend it to everyone who hasn't read it yet. The weird thing is I went to look for the image for this slide, and this thing came up. Somebody showing that it's 23 centimeters high and 9.3 inches. Why the fuck anybody would care about that, I don't know. But if you are in the market for a 23 centimeter book, I really recommend Everybody Writes. Okay, marketing never swears. Now, this is not one that I want to say you should do, but it's interesting and weird that marketing doesn't swear, because people swear. People are a really bunch of sweary, sweary, sweary people. This guy, Timothy J., did a study. He took 9 million word transcripts, he took thousands and thousands of normal spoken word transcripts, and found that up to 3.4% of the words were swear words. And I was thinking, well, is that a lot? Is that a little? I don't know. It turns out first-person plural pronouns are only 1%. That's we, us, and our, some of the most common words in the English language. And treble that is not uncommon to be swear words. People swear all the time. There are lots and lots of studies about just how sweary this species is in pretty much everywhere. Someone looked at all the most popular TV shows and actually came up with this wonderful statistic. Deadwood has 1.73 fucks per minute. Per minute. That is a lot of swearing. And it's not even the sweariest of all the TV shows. So we swear liberally in TV shows and movies and plays and poetry and music and fiction, nonfiction, daily speech, bar mitzvahs, visual arts, emails, post-it notes, shopping lists, and conferences. You'll find swearing in all these places. It's not abnormal. It's everywhere. But it's not in marketing. It's weird. And you think, well, we know that swearing is a special kind of speech. There's a lot of studies about that. And we know now that marketing is a special kind of speech that somehow has decided to exclude it. It turns out it's got a lot of power that can be used, and brands are starting to explore it. I've got a swipe file full of really cool and some horribly crass examples of swearing in marketing. Some of them very badly used. All the things you hate about swearing, juvenile or lazy. and some of them quite clever. FC UK, French Connection, made that brand. This is from TransferWise, franc, yen, euro, kroner. I love it from Burger King. You know the word burger is not behind that. Or our blades are fucking great for Dollar Shave Club. So all these different categories, you know, gambling, there's a Broadway play, so fucking good it makes me angry. On that Book of Mormon one, it's important to swear in the poster because the play itself is incredibly profane. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you don't like swearing, you don't want to go to this show. And so it's pretty good to put the name in the poster. Like I did a talk just on this topic, and it was called How to Swear in Your Fucking Marketing, because I didn't want people to come who didn't like swearing. We were going to be exploring all kinds of swearing. Again, this is not something I'm saying oh no, this is my favorite one. I got to show this. Can we run this one? My absolute favorite sweary ad.
Holy fucking shit! Son of a bitch! Oh fuck! What the fuck? God damn it! Fucking shit! See?
Who told you to say that?
You.
For fuck's sake.
Just to be delightful. I mean, it ought to be shocking and horrible, and how could one encourage such a thing? And somehow it's utterly delightful and on strategy. So it just says, look, this hugely powerful convention, why would you ever swear in marketing? Turns out there are some answers, some brands that the answer is, yeah, you could and you should. So I'm not saying swear. Certainly if your audience doesn't like swearing, you would never want to do that. But you could aim for the things that swearing can do for you. So resonate with the like-minded people. Be authentic, be passionate and funny, and add some mojo to your voice. These are things that people draw on swearing to do. So whether or not you want to swear, you should do these things. These are important. All right, those are the ones I wanted to go through. 2 quick techniques for breaking conventions, not secrets at all, really, really simple things you can do. The first is to get your people together into a room, get a team to sit down, stick up on the wall the different kinds of conventions, and do post-it notes about the way things are done and never done, and get all the rules, as many as you can get. Just get them down there on the wall. And then for the second half of the workshop, you pick a few that you want to break and play with, and just see what the opposite of that rule would look like. And some will be ridiculous, really will be, why would we ever do that? And those can be really fun to play with. Some will be a little more likely. But I think it's a really good exercise to do. And for us, when we do this kind of thing, we come out with some exciting ideas. Some really, the ones that make you sweat and think, oh, we can't present that. Those are usually the ones to do. I mean, we've often presented to a client. We'll say, okay, here's some ideas. And they'll be like, oh, that would be great. Put it aside and look here. It's like, no, let's bring that back. It's like, oh, that would be so funny. It'd be great. And they put it over here and look at these. And it's like, no, the ones that make you nervous are actually the ones you should at least spend some time with and figure out. And the next one's really, really simple, which is list the reasons not to buy from you. Get them on paper. Everybody should have this in their marketing team anyway, and should be really honest about it. Who will not like us? Why will they not like us? And get it down there. And something weird happens, because you look at the list, and it's not at all scary anymore. You look and think, those are okay to admit. And not only is it okay to admit, it feels really good to admit, because it says, look, we're okay not trying to work our asses off to appeal to these people. And if we can admit these things in public, the people who are our ideal prospects will trust us more. They'll say that when you say something good about your company, you're more likely to be telling the truth because you're willing to admit these things. So for me, these 2 very, very simple techniques to start exposing and challenging the conventions of content marketing. So that's the wrap-up, is invisible conventions are holding you back. So by all means, please expose them and break them and see what happens. Thank you very much. Really?
And you should really raise them because they've come a long way. They're experts. And you also get a prize, a signed book. Does anyone have any comments or questions for that?
They're Norwegian. Oh.
for a very interesting talk.
Thank you.
I'm curious, what do you say to companies who've had a tone of voice and it's friendly and warm and friendly? How do they break convention and then go back to their tone of voice? Do they have to break convention, find a new way of doing it within the tone of voice? Is that your recommendation?
So is the question, hey, we have a tone of voice we like. Why break that? Is that kind of the question?
Yes, right.
Well, you know, I wouldn't. I mean, I still think it's cool to say, all right, we talk this way, we've always talked this way. What would it be like to talk a different way in a different context? So a super friendly brand like a Burger King that does their fries like that, that's breaking convention in a cool, isolated place. What they were doing was saying, there was a toll in Australia that was put up, and they said, fuck the toll, come here and we'll give you free food to pay for your toll. That's super friendly, family-friendly brand, but there was a place that they could do it, and it had this splash of water kind of effect. So I think it is really good to have a nice, strong, clear sense of what your voice is. But what I think the new voices that we're finding in markets are way more flexible than the old ones were. When we do tone of voice guides, it's not don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. It's more about bring your best game, try this, try that, go for it, bring your best writers. And that means flexibility. You know, you're going to try different things in different contexts for different audiences. So, you know, I'm not saying break things that are working for you or that are really good, although bending that at times can also free up some cool stuff.
Okay, while you're thinking, I have a question.
Do you get a book?
Rory, I don't think I get a book.
No.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We'll see. When you have clients that you want to break conventions with, and they're like, as you say, yeah, well, that would be fun, that would be interesting, but no. You have how do you persuade them, or not really persuade them, but make them want to do it and give them the courage they need, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's.
Do you have any short list tips for us?
That is the key question. I think we can all have good ideas. Getting them sold in is the big challenge. Service business, the agency business, and so you have to give clients what they want. But our job, if you think about it, is to make them want the right thing. And sometimes you don't do that in the context of here's a dangerous thing, do you approve it? They're not going to approve it. It's coming at them, it broke every convention they have in their mind, and they're going to reject it. What we like to do is prepare people for the principle first and say, there's this thing called conventions in our market. Look, come into this room and all the advertising and marketing and content from all our competitors are there, and it all looks the same. We really believe there's a mileage to be gained by breaking these rules and doing different stuff. And we want your permission to explore that. So we try to get that buy-in up front, alignment of the idea and the strategy behind it. So it doesn't look frivolous, because often certainly for non-marketers or conventional thinkers, it looks frivolous. Like you're just breaking rules to break rules. You're just swearing to swear, that kind of thing. And often it's not frivolous at all. It's very, very strategic, and it's very considered. But they need to see that thinking before they're slapped with this dangerous thing that they want to reject. So what we'd like to do is prepare the ground, tell people that this is the kind of marketing we want to do, and we're going to be showing you. It's not going to go live until everyone's comfortable, but we think discomfort is a target here. And that helps a lot, I think. If you just drop it on people, you'll get the reject thing. And when a senior person rejects something, it's very, very hard to talk them around and say, you know that thing you said in front of everybody? Here's why the opposite is true. Doesn't really work very well. So what you want to do is prepare them for that till they're on board with the idea of it. And you can show in many, many markets how that works and why. And then once they say, yeah, let's give that a go, they're way more likely to say, yeah, you're hitting the target there.
Table at the back.
Hi Doug, my name is Eric. I got a question about what you said when it comes to don't follow the data that much sometimes. Do you have tips or guidelines around that? Because I mean, how long are you going to go on with something if doesn't seem to be working before it actually starts working? Like, could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, it is a really tough one. Data is winning more arguments. And frankly, even though I'm coming from the creative side, I'm really glad. I hate having hunch arguments. Blue is better than red. It's like, well, no, it twice converted twice as well as red. So I like the data. I think to ever come out as being against the data and thinking, you know, that's not the way to win those arguments. But often it's simply that the data hasn't yet shown what you want. And what we look for is really early indicators. For Rand, it was something that wasn't actually measurable. It was the enthusiasm of the few who engaged. So there was an early indicator there. Without any early indicators and nothing but bad data, it's going to be really hard. And as Rand said, if we weren't tiny back then, today they couldn't have made this work. So part of it is preparing yourself. If you think you're going into something that's new and untried, you want to prepare a runway for the whole team so that you're not judged too quickly. And that it also lets you pivot a little bit, but it also keeps the naysayers just quiet for a little while to give it time. At some point, we did a video I thought was really funny, and I was really proud of it. And nobody liked it. Nobody liked it. And nobody shared it at all. It just bombed. And there was part of me that's like, look, I think it's funny, so I'm going to rescue this thing. But the more I looked at I asked on LinkedIn, why does everyone hate this? And I got like 1,000 reasons, and all very compelling. And it was time to give that one up. So sometimes your heart and your instinct, the data's right, you're wrong. I guess it's one of the hardest things of all. I think what helps is a passionate champion of that thing. And if somebody is confident and champions that thing, you can bring other people along with you to a degree. If it's all looking like, look, you're flushing our revenues down the toilet with your silly idea, at some point you got to give it up. But yeah, it's a little bit of steel and nerve, and then a little bit of early indicators, I think.
Right. Now, Ola has made a really, you have to show this around afterwards.
Oh, yeah?
This is your present.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for a very interesting talk.
It's ladies' underwear. Oh, wow. That is spooky. That is me in hologram. That is the spookiest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm happy to show it to anyone. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you'll be hanging around?
Yeah, I'm around
Great.
today. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.